When we think of colonial America, images of the Pilgrims at Plymouth, the bustling ports of Boston and Philadelphia, or the tobacco fields of Virginia come easily to mind. Yet, at the southeastern edge of this colonial mosaic, a very different kind of experiment was unfolding. Founded in 1733, Georgia was the last and arguably the most ambitious of Britain's original 13 American colonies. Its place as the 13th colony was not just a matter of chronology. Georgia's founding encapsulated a unique blend of philanthropy, strategic necessity, and imperial ambition that set it apart from every other British settlement in North America. Yet, to truly appreciate why Georgia holds such a singular place in American history, we must first look at the world into which it was born. A world of imperial rivalry, economic uncertainty, and social upheaval. Here, in the wild borderlands between British Carolina and Spanish Florida, dreams of social reform collided with the hard realities of survival and geopolitics. The result was a colony that was, from its inception, a fascinating crossroads, a social laboratory, a military buffer, and a microcosm of Britain's Atlantic Empire. In the following chapters, we will delve into the lives of the people who created Georgia, the challenges they faced, and the ideals they pursued. But here, at the outset of our journey, let us consider the overarching questions that make Georgia's founding so distinctive. Why did it take so long to settle this region? What motivated the British government and a group of philanthropic trustees to create an entirely new colony here? And what made their approach so different from those that came before? To answer these questions, we must consider both the immediate context of the early 18th century and the broader sweep of colonial history. First, let's look at the geography of possibility and peril. By the 1730s, the British Atlantic coast had been steadily colonized from north to south. Yet the region that would become Georgia remained a contested wilderness. It was not for lack of interest. Rather, it was due to the region's dangers and complexities. The area was home to powerful Native American nations, including the Creek and Yamacraw, and lay directly in the path of Spanish Florida's ambitions. It was also a region prone to tropical diseases, unpredictable weather, and daunting swamps and forests. Yet, for all its hazards, southernmost North America offered enormous promise. Fertile land, navigable rivers, and access to the Atlantic trade network made the region a potential economic powerhouse. For the British, the challenge was how to settle it, and for whom. Now let's examine the legacy of earlier colonies. Georgia's founders had the benefit of hindsight. They could look to the successes and failures of Virginia, South Carolina, and other colonies. They saw the dangers of social stratification, the corrosive effects of slavery, the instability of frontier settlements, and the persistent problem of poverty and crime in England itself. Armed with this knowledge, the men who would create Georgia set out to do something unprecedented, to build a colony that would serve not just as an economic engine, but as a model of social reform and imperial defense. Next, let's explore philanthropy, a utopian experiment. At the heart of Georgia, U.S. founding was a remarkable, and in some ways radical idea, that the colony could offer a new start for Britain's worthy poor. In the early 18th century, England was racked by poverty, debt, and overcrowded prisons. The notorious Fleet and Marshalsea prisons were filled with debtors, many of whom had been incarcerated for minor financial offenses. These men and women languished in misery, often with their families, with little hope of redemption. James Oglethorpe, a member of Parliament and a reform-minded humanitarian, became the driving force behind the Georgia Project. Horrified by the conditions he witnessed during a parliamentary inquiry into England's prisons, Oglethorpe began to envision a solution that was both charitable and practical. Resettle the worthy poor in America, where they could rebuild their lives as industrious farmers and soldiers. To implement his plan, Oglethorpe secured the support of like-minded philanthropists and politicians, forming a board of trustees 20, named individuals who would oversee the colony without compensation and ensure that it was run according to principles of public service, not private profit. With this unusual governing structure in place, the trustees set about creating a colony that would offer a haven for the poor. The trustees' vision was utopian, a society of small farmers, free from the corrupting influences of slavery, land speculation, and hard liquor. They instituted rules to support this vision. Land would be distributed in equal modest plots. Inheritance would be tightly controlled to prevent land consolidation. Slavery and rum would be banned, and settlers would be expected to serve in the colony's defense. This philanthropic ambition set Georgia apart as the only British American colony founded explicitly for the benefit of the worst worthy poor. The resulting social experiment would shape the colony's early years and its enduring myth as a debtor's colony, a label that was only partly true but powerful in its symbolism. But philanthropy alone cannot explain why Georgia was founded. The colony's strategic importance as a buffer between British and Spanish territories played a vital role in its creation. Let's now turn to the subject of defense. Buffer colony on a hostile frontier. At the heart of Georgia's founding lay the ever-present shadow of Spanish Florida. In the early 18th century, the southern frontier was a volatile battleground where European empires clashed, and the balance of power hung in the balance. The trustees recognized that the new colony would need to be prepared to defend itself against both external threats and internal unrest. To address these concerns, they took several key steps. First, they strategically located the colony's capital at Savannah on the Atlantic coast, ensuring easy access for trade and communication with Britain. They also established a series of fortified settlements along the frontier, such as Fort Frederica at the mouth of the Altamaha River. These forts served as military outposts and administrative centers, helping to maintain order and protect the colony from potential invaders. Moreover, the trustees understood the importance of diplomacy in managing the volatile frontier. They appointed James Oglethorpe as the colony's first governor, recognizing his skills in negotiation and his commitment to peaceful coexistence with Native American nations. Oglethorpe's efforts to forge alliances with local tribes, such as the Yamacraw, proved instrumental in securing the colony's early years. He established trading relationships, negotiated land agreements, and sought to mediate disputes between settlers and indigenous peoples. These diplomatic achievements helped to create a buffer zone around the colony, shielding it from the conflicts that plagued neighboring regions. However, defense in Georgia was not solely reliant on military strength and diplomacy. The trustees also implemented measures to ensure the colony's long-term stability. They enacted laws to promote public order, such as prohibiting firearms to prevent settlers from engaging in reckless behavior. They also placed restrictions on land ownership to discourage speculation and hoarding, hoping to create a society of independent farmers. Additionally, the trustees sought to attract settlers with diverse skills and professions, recognizing the need for a well-rounded community that could sustain itself. Despite these precautions, life on the frontier was far from easy. Settlers faced challenges such as disease, harsh weather, and conflicts with both wildlife and indigenous peoples. Nevertheless, the colony's defensive preparations provided a foundation for resilience and growth, allowing Georgia to establish itself as a viable part of the British Empire in North America. Finally, let's consider the third piece of the puzzle: imperial strategy. Georgia's founding must be understood within the larger context of British, Spanish, and French rivalry for control of North America. The southern frontier was a fluid, contested space where empires vied for land, resources, and influence. By establishing Georgia, Britain hoped to solidify its claims, expand its trading network, and prevent its rivals from encroaching northward. The trustees' restrictions on land ownership, slavery, and alcohol were not just about philanthropy. They were designed to create a stable, disciplined, and loyal population capable of defending the empire. The colony's economy was intended to complement, not compete with, South Carolina's, producing silk, wine, and other goods for British markets. In conclusion, let's consider the themes that echo through Georgia's story. First, let's discuss philanthropy versus pragmatism. From the outset, the trustees' vision for Georgia was rooted in both idealism and practicality. Their desire to help the worthy poor was tempered by the need to create